Hello and welcome to my studio. I am Lesley Ann Robinson, the designer behind Knit Graffiti Designs. And before we get into our tutorial, I wanted to talk about some new merch that I have available at threadless.com. And if you want to check it out, there's a link in the description. So today I'm wearing my logo, my Knit Graffiti Designs logo, and this design is available on a lot of different kinds of merch, including t-shirts with different styles, a lot of different sizes, tank tops, sweatshirts, all kinds of things. So please be sure to check it out if you want your own knit graffiti merch. Of course, I had to choose the hot pink version. But there's lots of different colors. Hopefully you can find something you'll love. I have a couple of other designs there as well, including some brioche themed merch, as well as some knitting puns, because why not? Again, this is all available at Threadless, and be sure to stay tuned. I'm coming up with a lot of different designs. But let's get into the tutorial, because that's why you're here, right? So today I'm going to show you how to work the Br8 stitch decrease when used with two-color brioche knitting. Okay, so this is not something brand new, but it's not very well known. I think it's not used very often in patterns. And today I am going to show it to you featured on my two-color brioche shawl called AntiGravity, which is going to be released on September 30th, 2024. So you can see it's behind me here, and I want to show you where the Br8 stitch decrease is going to be showcased. So if you look here at this part of the shawl, it's sort of in the center. That is the Br8 stitch decrease. Okay, I'll show a better close-up of it when I show you my hands and how to work this decrease. It's very similar to the Br4 stitch decrease, which I'm going to show a little link up there. I have another video tutorial showing that one. So if you're familiar with that decrease, this is very similar, just involving more stitches. So let's get to it, and I'll show you how to work this super fun decrease. Okay, here is a close-up of my anti-gravity shawl, and for the first half of the shawl, you're working it side to side. In the center, you're going to work a Br8 stitch increase. Okay, so this is what the increase looks like. You're going to have 9 stitches blooming out of one stitch, and it creates this beautiful decorative hole and motif for the center of your shawl. When you get to the center of the shawl, you're going to start decreasing, and these decreases are not going to affect the stitch count. This is just decorative for the look of the shawl. So you can see it sort of starts to loop in on itself, but here is where you'll work the first Br8 stitch decrease. And this is going to be worked into brioche knit stitches using the main color on the main side of your work. Okay, so here you can see I've worked multiple Br8 stitch decreases going all the way up the shawl. This will create sort of a 3-dimensional fabric. It'll be a lot more exaggerated while you're knitting it, but after you wash and block it, it will relax quite a bit. So let's get into it. So here I've got my little troll friend to keep me company, and here I'm using the leftovers, the yarn leftovers from my original anti-gravity shawl, which is by the yarn dyer Fleur de Stitched. And if you're interested in checking out Micah's amazing yarn. Be sure to check the link in my description so you can go check it out. So my main color is this gray, kind of gray and black speckled, called Silver Fox. And the pink is this gorgeous pink, which Micah custom named Pink Graffiti for our lovely collaboration. So here you can see I started to knit this little swatch here to show you. This is just even two-color brioche. So the main side is going to showcase the brioche knit stitches in the gray color, which is my main color. The contrast side is going to showcase the pink as my brioche knit stitches. That's my contrast color. We're going to be working the decrease only on the main side of the fabric, okay? Okay, so this is something that I do. Before you begin any row that's going to have the Br8 stitch decrease, you want to make sure that you have a tool with you, whether it's a split ring marker like this. This one is by Clover, and this one is by Coco Knits. These are my favorite tools to use when working a center decrease with brioche. So whether you're working the Br4 stitch decrease or the Br8 stitch decrease, these are super handy. If you don't have one, you can use any locking stitch marker. You could even use a cable needle, something like this, like a little flexi floopsies. I can't remember what these are called. Maybe I should look it up before recording a video, or something like this, you know, one of these cute little light bulb stitch markers, something like that. Basically, you're just going to be putting a stitch on hold, so you want to be able to have that tool ready. What I like to do is I take my split ring marker and I'll place it on the main side of my work, and it'll just hang out there until I'm ready for it. Once I'm going to start, I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to work over to kind of the center of this swatch so that I can work the decrease. I'm wearing my fiber ring here for my tension. So I'm going to show this. I'm just going to work over to kind of more the center of the swatch. So here I am working here. I'm going to use my fiber ring for tension. I'm using my main color yarn, okay, and we're brioche knitting. So in this pattern, all of the increases and decreases are going to be worked on the main side in the main color, okay? So you don't have to, it's kind of like you have one thinking row and then you have some sort of like brioche break rows. Okay, so similar to the Br4 stitch decrease, okay, we're going to start with the YF slip one yarn over, and the decrease is going to involve 9 stitches, okay? So I'm going to count them. We're going to go from 9 stitches down to 1, okay? So we're going to count 1. So I'm going to call them I'm going to call them by letters, just so it's easy for us to keep track. So we're going to say A, B, C, D, E. Okay, E is going to be our center stitch. This is what's going to be put on hold. Okay, so this is going to be the center stitch that's going to travel all the way up your shawl. And then we have F, G, H, and I. Okay, so we have 9 stitches. There are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches are brioche stitches, and 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches are going to be just the single stitches. Okay, so I know there are some videos out there that show to drop the yarn overs that are wrapping these stitches. We're not going to do that. You can totally do that if you want to. If you feel like it adds a little bit more bulk to your project, that's totally up to you. I personally did not. I love the way that it looks without doing it. Okay, so remember I have my split ring marker ready over here. I've worked my YF slip one yarn over here. That's sort of like the setup. So now I am going to slip knitwise A, B, C, and D separately. Okay, so to do that, you want to place your needle in as if to knit or brioche knit, depending on the stitch, right? You want to make sure if it's a brioche stitch, you want to go through the slip stitch and the yarn over together. But I'm going to slip that off, and I actually do want to twist these, and that's why we're slipping them knitwise, okay? Then I'm going to slip B knitwise, put my needle in as if to knit, slip it off. C knitwise, put my needle in as if to knit or brioche knit, slip that off, and then one more, D as if to knit, slip that off. Okay, so now here's our yarn, right? Our working yarn is coming from way over here. We have just slipped 4 stitches separately. So the yarn over is going to be on the left now. Okay, so now we've come to E. This is the stitch we're going to place on hold. So I'm going to take my split ring marker, place it through the stitch. We don't want to twist the stitch. Okay, so we're just going to slip it off purlwise. Make sure you place your stitch marker or your cable needle, whatever you're using to place this on hold, through the slip stitch and the yarn over. And I'm going to just slip that off of my needle and just let that hang to the front of your work. Okay, now we're going to knit F. Okay, so this is our 6th stitch. Okay, remember we slipped 4, we put the 5th stitch on hold. Now we're going to just knit this stitch. Our yarn is coming from kind of far away. Don't worry about that weirdness. That will all even out once we're done. Okay, so I just knit that stitch. Now we're going to pass this stitch, so stitch D that we twisted, we're going to pass that over our knit stitch. And every time I pass a stitch over, I kind of give my yarn a little tug. I'm going to place my worked stitch on my left hand needle, just slip it over there. You don't want to twist it. I'm going to pass, this is our 7th stitch. So this is G. We're going to pass this over. This is a brioche stitch. So we want to make sure we grab the slip stitch and the yarn over together. Pass that over. Place our worked stitch on our right hand needle. So you can see, if you're pretty used to doing the Br4st Decrease, it's very similar because you're just kind of pass, alternating passing stitches over. So I placed my work stitch on my right hand needle. I'm going to pass C over. So that's a brioche stitch. I want to make sure I grab the slip stitch in the yarn over, pass that over, give the yarn a tug. Okay, so now we've decreased 3 stitches. I'm going to slip my worked stitch to my left hand needle. We're going to pass, I think this is H now, okay, right? Because our middle stitch is E. We're going to pass that over. That's just a single stitch. Place our worked stitch on our right hand needle, give the yarn a tug. Now we're going to pass B over. So that was our 2nd slipped stitch. That's just a single stitch. Okay, so it's looking like we have 2 stitches left to pass over. Okay, we have 1 on our left hand needle and 1 on our right hand needle. I'm going to place my worked stitch on my left hand needle, pass the last stitch. So this is I. We're going to pass that over. That's a brioche stitch. So remember, make sure that you pass over the slip stitch, the stitch, and the yarn over. Place my worked stitch on my right hand needle, give that yarn another tug. We have 1 final stitch on our right hand needle before we do the center stitch. So this is A, and it's a brioche stitch. We're going to pass that over, the stitch and the yarn over. Okay. So now we have passed all of our stitches over. The last stitch we have is the center stitch. Okay. So you can see how nicely they've all stacked on top of each other. And if you turn your work around, you will feel that it is a little bulky here. Okay. But that's just part of the fabric. I love it. I think it's great. So now we're going to take the stitch that we placed on hold, okay, and we're going to place it on our left-hand needle. Make sure that you place it back on exactly how you took it off. So your stitch is going to be on the left and your yarn over is going to be on the right. Okay, so place that back on. You don't want to twist it, because if you do it this way, you'll have that beautiful column continuing up your work. So I'm going to I've placed that on my left-hand needle. I'm going to place my worked stitch on my left-hand needle as well. And I'm going to pass this final stitch over. And you want to grab the stitch and the yarn over wrapping the stitch. And you are done. Place your final worked stitch on your right-hand needle. And there you go. There are going to be some gaps in between if you look at this stitch compared to this stitch next to the stitch next to it. But that is how to work the Br8st Decrease. So I hope this was helpful. If you need to rewind, pause, anything you need to do before you understand how to work this stitch, it's a lot of steps, but hopefully it makes sense logically, just kind of stacking stitches on top of each other. So then when you come back with your contrast color yarn, you're just going to work that as a slip-one yarn over, just like you would any decrease. Okay, so that is how to work the Br8st Decrease. I hope that you love it as much as I do. This was such a fun kind of experiment to see if this worked with my pattern, and I hope you enjoy AntiGravity. If you're watching this beforehand, this pattern will be released on September 30th, 2024. And again, everything is in the description, the yarn, the music, a link to my fiber ring if you want to check that out, as well as a link to Threadless if you want to check out my t-shirts and merch there. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.